tied in the standings, by the way. Neither can catch Royal. However, they can build some space and get away from fourth so that they don't have to play them in the first round as the top team in the tournament. Aurelian Sol, the first ban coming out. He played it twice, even though he lost both those games. Seeing the respect come out of Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the picks a little bit. I mean, Aurelian Sol must ban. No one else in the tournament has played it so far. Caitlyn must ban. Only NL has played that. I think that this is a CLG lineup that came in with a really structured level 1 and great variety in their champion pools that have taken the rest of this tournament a little bit by storm. And I'm expecting teams over the 4-day break to really go away and try and master some of these picks for themselves, because you can't consistently ban them on blue and red side.
Yeah, it really limits your options when you have to do these 3 single-player bans. It just gives you no other options. Either you figure out a way to deal with them and beat them, or a way to incorporate them into your own lineups. But it's got to be something. If it's otherwise their best strategy, you have to be able to handle it in some way. Maokai is sort of standard typical bans coming out of CLG. I wonder if they are willing to be able to deal with Maple's Gangplank or not, like what style they want to go for here.
I'm wondering if they were going to first pick Caitlyn, because they've just banned away the Azir, so that's a lot of the teamfight flavor, or whether they think they can run an assassin to deal with it.
That's the question. Then if you start realizing that Caitlyn's on the table and maybe is required first pick, does CLG pinch another role? Do they ban like Poppy or Echo, get a top laner, ban a Graves, and go for a Kindred? That's not the case here. LeBlanc off the table. And I want to see, because you've got 2 great top laners, 2 great junglers. Caitlyn is a special AD carry. The question is, again, does Flash Wolves care enough? Because Tixie was still able to carry these games playing something like Kalista, playing Lucian. So is it even the Caitlyn necessarily?
Yeah, and the Kalista is great because we're not really seeing lockdown hard CC out of top laners. I mean, Echo eventually has it, but it's very easy if you are Kalista to dodge out of the way of all of that and just continue to put spears in the guy, because we've nursed the damage. She was falling out of favor when you could one-shot her, but because she goes double, triple lifesteal items as the game progresses, she's just so frustrating to deal with all the mobility. And I think that has turned into maybe Stixxay's best champion at the tournament, even though the Caitlyn saw so much early success.
Sure. Well, right now we have the Kindred being hovered here by the LMS. That was one of the sort of supportive champions that Xmithie could use to keep Stixxay alive in these team fights when they were kind of just trying to play the whole backline style. Karsa, a great player on himself. And look at that, immediately the lock-in. Look, Echo, more so than Poppy, rise right away off the table.
And this is great for CLG, because this is the first time I've seen them prioritize the Echo over the Poppy. So Darshan really showing that he does still have the variety of going both ways.
Definitely. He was great at Echo over the North American playoffs as well. And honestly, this is... 2 of the big power picks. I think Echo is second to Maokai as a great mid laner top laner, and these teams seem to believe that Ryze is basically the go-to mid laner when there's no Azir. So CLG getting sort of widely believed power picks here. LMS get what they want, though.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I think that that's actually credit to Darshan, because you're exactly right. During the North American playoffs, this was the pick that he would go to. In fact, people maybe criticized his Poppy a little bit because he looked uncomfortable at times, but he's cleaned that up and gone towards it more as a power pick, and showing that, yes, even though I think Poppy is a power pick, if I need to win lane, I still do have that ability on the Echo.
And look at this, though. Flash Wolves taking away some picks. Aphromoo known for his Bard, but Sordart's going to get it himself, so look at that. The Poppy grabbed that away to make sure that gets locked into the top lane, no big problem, but Sordart's Bard, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing very much of, so this could be interesting. Also keep in mind, a great laner. We talk about Aphromoo playing range supports almost every single game. Some of that for the laning phase power. Well, Bard, honestly one of the better laners in this current landscape of League of Legends.
Yeah, I always say about Bard is that you can kind of pick any AD carry you want in the game, and Bard will kind of 2v1 the lane for you because of how powerful the Meep slap is, at least towards the earlier stages. And he's one of the few range supports that still adds initiation because of that Bard ulti, because of the ability to chain it with stun. So I think it suits Sword Art more than something like a Janna, because we see him play a little bit of Morgana as well, especially when Maple wants to run Ryze, but Bard has a similar flavor whilst being a little bit more offensive.
And him wanting to be a playmaker is definitely important here. So interesting to note, though, that Caitlyn ban seemingly not required anyway, as CLG didn't even want to go for that style. They wanted to grab the Lucian, actually, allow him to be a little bit more dynamic. The Graves gets grabbed, no big surprises here, of course, with Kindred Italy off the table. But CLG leaving support for last, picking up the Lucian so that NL can't play it, but of course the Ezreal's still up for him if he wants it. And that's going to be the hover.
I love this decision making, because if it is an assassin, you lock in the Janna. if it is a control mage, you lock in the Morgana and give Huhi free reign to run around and blow people up. I actually think that this is one of the smarter times to leave the support pick until last and completely shut down whatever the LMS's Flash Wolf wants to bring to this table.
And we'll see what that mid laner ends up being. The hover right now onto Karma, but I don't know if that's really going to be the champion here. As time goes down, it actually is. So Ezreal Karma, the last few pickups here for Flash Wolves.
And there you go, Freak. The reason you haven't seen the Bard so far out of Sword Art is just because he hasn't taken it onto Summoner's Rift. So unless you're having a look at his solo queue there, it's going to be a little bit different.
In all of 2016, Sword Art has only played Thresh, Alistair Braum, Trundle, Morgana, and a couple of Poppy games. His first Bard of the year. And what a better time to play it than battling CLG for the spot. Didn't play it freshly in 2015 either. So as far as I can tell, Sword Art's first ever Bard game. And after taking all of his time to make his choice for his last pick here.
Yeah, and, you know, he really does have flexibility. I mean, the Morgana, in my opinion, is a great pick. The Soraka is already shown to be frustrating as all hell, and he plays it so well. Makes sense to me.
Okay, look at that. The Soraka again allowed for the CLG bot lane. I mean, Afro's pulled Bard and Soraka as bans before in this tournament in the same game. Just, well, one gets picked away, take the other one. No big problem for him. The Lucian over the Caitlyn, that target ban not there, doesn't seem to care about it.
And right now, Darshan's a great carry top lane player. I don't want to say it just yet, but he has the rise.
Ooh. No, I like... Okay. Well, there's still a chance they can swap back. You get till 20 seconds, and actually, that is a question mark, honestly. We've seen Take Echo in the mid lane. We've seen Huhi actually play AP Echo in the mid lane as well. It will be Echo top, though. Not going to be a question there. Mid lane Rise going to be up against Karma. And with a Kindred jungling for the Flash Wolves, I think Karma Kindred has some reliable engage tools to get on that Rise and pick on him really early.
Yeah, I actually like the control that Karma, Kindred, Ezreal bring to a composition.
Sure.
They're champions that I like to say can go forward and back, and they're very, very hard to find. That Iceborne Gauntlet allows Ezreal to do both very reliably. I mean, the empowered speed up that Karma gives the team, kind of like Sivir, is great engaging and disengaging, so there is flexibility in the LMS's team comp right now for the Flash Wolves, and honestly, just brute force and power picks across the board for Counter Logic Gaming.
We're getting ourselves into the game. This could be a preview of one of the semifinals here. Hashtag FW win, hashtag CLG win, for which team you think is going to be. These teams, again, tied in the standings, battling for second seed heading into the playoffs. North America owns the Rift. They did win the first match they played way back in the beginning of Mid-Season Invitation 2016. They are here for the rematch. They're here for the battle for the number 2 seed underneath the Chinese Royal lineup. And here we go on to the Rift. Who's it going to be?
And I want to see CLG set up a smart level 1. You can already see players streaming towards the top side of the map. Sending Stixxay actually into lane is something that we see a lot. So
both these teams have a plan. They're not doing standard battle lines here. So it's Lucian running into the top lane, but he's actually going to match both Flash Wolves members. And will they run all the way in? Yes, they will. Sword Art, spotted by Stixxay. Trinket Ward, and that Trinket Ward will die. So a waste of 10 gold and a loss of a ward.
And that the vision denial, like the information denial, is actually even more potent, because now if you do want the lane swap, if you were Stixxay and Afromu, you kind of have to walk towards the mid lane and hope another ward catches. Or, you know, you can, if you're incredibly patient, just wait till minions hit, but that costs you a lot at the moment.
Definitely does. Right now, Huhi getting poked out by Maple. Well done, Flash Wolves. Early gold lead, early damage lead.
Oh, everything's going wrong.
Or right, depending on which team you're a fan of.
And I think that CLG really has internationally started to grow. Like, they've always been one of the premier organizations in North America. I do realize that. But, you know, battling back for that respect, they've been speaking about it so much. And what a way to do it. I mean, their win over the Flash Wolves with the 5th Dragon, battling back against RNG, showing that they really do have that American fighting spirit. This team is just, honestly, they've been a joy to watch.
And we are going to have ourselves a lane swap game. Both top laners walking into lane, but they'll quickly realize that they're going to be up against the opposing duos. Darshan actually doing something pretty clever. So this is something that Echo players will do. I don't think he actually got to do what he wanted, though. Basically, you start with about 17 to 19 ability power, and you can actually kill cast minions with 2 casts of Time Winder. But Darshan unfortunately for him, ran into NL too quickly and couldn't actually do much about it. As lane swap moves on, MMD forced to kite back from the laning phase. And we actually have an interesting situation going on. Sword Art roaming to the top side to play a 2-on-2 lane Poppy Bard versus Lucian Soraka. Because look at what Darshan's doing. He's running all the way across the map, and NL's just freezing.
Yeah.
What a great opening by Flash Wolves.
This is an adaptation. This is what teams in the LPL used to do, is not respect the standard lane swap and try and create their own. But this time around, actually looks like the LMS team have been able to pull it off, because Darshan's wasted a good minute just wandering around the jungle.
And keep in mind, because he thought he might be in a lane swap, he shoved the early lane, which means it's an easy freeze for NL. NL's level 3 to Darshan's level 1, now back in lane, but also Darshan is overextended. MMD can teleport down, and Karsa can roam down as well. This is a really rough situation for CLG to be in. Really well played by Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and you can see that he's trying to break that freeze. He doesn't really care about experience right now. He's just throwing his timeline as quickly as possible at that creep line. There it is again. Like, he wants it to hit the turret.
Yeah. But this is what that ability power is actually going to mean for him. You see these caster minions down here, that one at the bottom, if it gets hit by both sides of the Timewinder, will actually die because of the Rune and Mastery choices. Oh, actually, okay. It's too far into the game. The minions have more health, I think, but normally that's how that works. I promise I'm not actually totally wrong about this.
No, that's right. I trust you. If there's anything, the math of the game, I trust you on, Freak.
I might not know the actual number because I don't play top lane, but there's like a specific breakpoint you have to hit.
Well, then we need to move on, because I don't play
I no longer have the math, so I completely ruined everyone's day with the Did You Know.
That's all right. Did you know next time we will get you? But not going towards that bottom lane is a little bit interesting here. Out of Karsa. Wanted the mid lane instead. Because you're right, Darshan right now is just in no man's land. I mean, the lane will slowly come back to him, but he's struggling.
It is worth keeping in mind, though, that as long as he's gaining XP, he's actually doing better than MMD, who's only at 7 himself. Poppy, actually worse than Echo at last hitting in a bad matchup, only has the passive for ranged last hitting tools. Carson has pick up on the Scuttle. Actually, is that 2 marks already at 4.5 minutes, so honestly, pretty fortunate for Karsa here. Walks to the jungle, sees that Smithy's already cleared that bottom side of the camp. Yeah, it's a very close game, though. All said and done, the Flash Wolves really, really clever early game where they denied a couple of levels from Darshan and whatnot. It's meant levels, because NL's up a level on Stixay, MMD's tied with Darshan. Sort of actually down 2 over Alphamu, so I don't know, it's like hard to track all these things, but it's been mostly equalized, is ultimately the conclusion here.
Yeah, I think that CLG's response was the correct one of not panicking, you know, just deny Poppy equally as much, make sure that she's going to have a rough stage in the laning phase. Darshan, shove your lane, get it back on the other side of the map, make sure it rebounds back into you. So I do like that as Smithy going for a bit of an invade, actually.
Whoop. And we got to see ourselves inside the game. It's a new feature, guys. We're transposing the caster.
We owned that rift.
Yeah, now we own the rift. Sorry, CLG. It's freaking spawns time. First recall did come out from who he teleported back into lane and is actually still down a little bit here. Unsurprising that the fan vote is in CLG's favor. North America's still awake at this hour.
How can you sleep? They've just been performing so well, and NL's in trouble.
And NL has to run away. Actually burns Summoner heal to get away from Darshan. Don't know if he quite needed to. I think the slow is going to time out, but loses Summoner spell either way. Darshan equal in levels, caught up nicely enough that he does meaningfully for himself. Yeah,
and without like a Iceborne Gauntlet or something like that, I think that NL eventually would have ran away from him. In fact, he's now shoved Darshan out of that lane. So yeah. I think that Darshan getting anything out of that little exchange, like a great bluff, if you will, is a huge advantage for CLG, especially if they swap back into standard lanes. Although it looks like Darshan, he still wants the lane swap. He's happy against the Ezreal.
Again, I think it is a thing worth pointing out that Echo can eventually just play the wave clear game and kind of ignore the fact that there's an enemy AD carry against him, whereas Maple Bard is not, Poppy Bard is not exactly going to win against Lucian Soraka. So I think the actual lane assignments do slightly favor CLG, and you're seeing actually Flash Wolves send Sword Art back up to this bottom lane. They're actually going to trio the Dragon, but they will have Sword Art and NL laning together.
And this has been the adaptation in the Flash Wolves games. They did not utilize Dragon whatsoever for the first day and a half, and then realized that that kind of was an oversight in their game plan, and like any great team, corrected it immediately. Since then, as Clement said, they've been the second best team in the MSI tournament of controlling that specific objective, and it has been, I guess, a weakness that they shored up relatively quickness, which is an overall strength of the team.
Definitely. Really impressive here by Flash Wolves to have such good Dragon control. As the analyst has mentioned, they were #2 in Dragon control at this tournament when That was their big weakness coming in. Sword Art still level 2, actually. Really just been roaming around the map, not getting XP for himself. Easily the lowest level player in this game right now. And
we kind of changed the catch-up mechanics slightly over the offseason because supports were doing this deliberately around last year's MSI, where they would fall down like huge level advantages and just walk into lane and the catch-up mechanic will take care of it. In saying that, there still is a slight one in the game, so he should get levels relatively quickly.
It shouldn't be terrible for him. You're seeing that XP balloon back up and he'll be okay for himself. As long as he gets to that Tempered Fate by the time it's time for the real team fights, that ulti is definitely valuable on Bard. Still the 2-on-1 situation, though, and this time around he should start seeing outer turrets go down. Again, problem is Darshan has pretty good wave clearers, now level 6 on Echo as well, so flash rolls even diving him would be somewhat difficult. You're seeing the Time Winder come out. That mini wave is basically gone.
Yeah, they get 2 auto attacks on.
They got one. Only Bard, even NL didn't attack it. And he will, however, help wave from the top side of the map, and that should be a number of these minions going down. Cash will get swiped. Whoop! And that slows down CLG's pushing ability. That turret, 1/3 HP right now.
Okay, so this is a smart move. Instead of allowing him to sit on turret, use that ultimate, they just zone it completely away by walking in between the two structures. CLG, once again, a disciplined team, not going to take the risky play that maybe a Royal would have gone for and got punished for it. So the tempo will be matched by both teams now, but I still think that CLG have got a 22 CS advantage on Darshan and have completely won out on this early game now.
Yeah, really impressive by them. You're seeing as the turret score gets equalized, it's a 500 gold lead for Counter Logic. And keep in mind, Graves Lucian plenty of damage up, but on these turrets, it's passive minutes. And what Karsa hitting R for the minion health to keep them alive on the turret siege. But here comes Darshan and Huhi pushing him back out. The Lambs despite a cute idea, but doesn't actually get them the turret kill. Meanwhile, CLG got plenty of damage to the top side. This will dive this wave.
And once again, let's speak about CLG's discipline, because Huhi doesn't run through the jungle, doesn't get spotted, takes the long way around and arrives at that lane unexpectedly, which means that he completely catches Karsa off guard. He burns the key cooldown and they get 0 from it. Meanwhile, CLG push in that top wave, get the second tier turret. That's just, once again, disciplined, clean play out of the North American squad.
And they're able to collect the top set of the map. Rift Herald here potentially, depends if they get stabbed or not by Flash Wolves, who are pinging this little area of the map quite a lot, but they're going to back out of this one. Huhi did lose a couple waves in the mid lane. He lost a little bit of mid health because of Maple pushing that wave in. NL also looking for the steal on the Rift Herald here. Should not be getting it. It'll hit too early. And they're going to be just fine here. So Dragon for Rift Herald, the eventual trade on this one. Dragon will respawn in about 3 minutes. That'll be fine. But Huhi, and he does lose the recall. Nice play by Maple.
Yeah, so Maple just wants to be able to control this lane now. Next recall Huhi has, he's even going to get stronger. Rise with mana items is already a beast as soon as he hits level 9 and maxes out the damage on his Q. So I think that now Maple will start respecting the lane a little bit more, play the wave clear game, see if he can disappear into Fog of War, get things happening elsewhere on the map. Because you really don't want to go toe-to-toe with the Rise. And, you know, even in the 2v2, Karsa without ultimate for the next couple of minutes, not going to be as effective as Smithy.
It really is impressive, though, how this game is being played. I love seeing these weird adaptations I've never seen before. Like, it's been years since I've seen the top lane support 2-on-1 laning phase. Flash had this really clever plan to start the game out where they would outsmart what they expect the CLG rotation to be, a 2-level lead for NL over Darshan and a freeze. Why, that was super sick. And CLG just, okay, that's fine. We've never seen this before, but we actually know how to counter this. Darshan's fine in this matchup. We're going to crush Poppy. Actually get a gold lead and a turret lead off that entire situation.
Yeah, I think sticking with the play there out of CLG was like brave, but the right call ultimately. And this is what we kind of expected out of Flash Wolves and CLG, and as well as G2 coming into this, this smart macro adaptation. I think that actually CLG's team fighting has been equally as surprising as their aversion of going into lane swaps, because they lane swap the most out of any team coming into this tournament, and you can see exactly why, because they generated 30 CS advantage in the top lane just through smart map play.
Beautiful stuff by Counter Logic Gaming. We'll see if they can get any more out of this one. 1,800, their gold lead here. Finally a decent early game for these guys who were getting crushed just yesterday against Royal. Looking a little bit better here. As far as team comps are concerned, though, it's still double marksman on both sides, single tank in the top lane. Interesting, sort of different mages here in the mid lane, but I think are comparable as far as sort of game impact goes. So no obvious late game advantage where like a Zed gets outscaled by an Azir or anything.
Yeah, I think a lot more brute strength power on the CLG lineup. I mean, Soraka even adds to that because you can run at people and she's a very forgiving champion. Seems weird. And then a little bit more finesse required from the Flash Wolf comp. And we have seen that finesse comps do slightly struggle, but there's always a possibility MMD gets rid of one member, you know, caster saves someone, all of a sudden it's a 4v5.
Ooh, risky though. Speaking of finesse, actually, Aphro's stuck in the jungle, and here comes the teleport play. Smithing into this one, damage on the Karsa. A lot of slows coming in. He wants to get away through the magical journey, and first blood comes through for Huhi. Getting out of the barn. Sort of only level 5 gets shut down.
And we mentioned the brute force, you know, they just sit in the jungle, they make the play. Now all of a sudden, NL a little bit out of position.
Burns the summoner heal, gets away, not under any more risk than that, but the second time he's used heal to run away from CLG, who now control the bot side of the map. There's nothing for MMD to push on the top side here. He's practically on his side of the map here, so this will be 3 turrets to 1 now for Counter Logic Gaming.
And this is just great play out of CLG. They set the deep vision in the red side of Flash Wolf's jungle. Aphro does something. Ooh, Maple.
Oh, Maple versus Huhi in the mid lane. The root's going to land, but it doesn't heal him. He didn't empower that one. Still able to run away. MMD's teleport pushes Huhi out. But here comes the attempt at Dragon. Sword Art's back alive. He's roaming around the map. This could be a little bit scary. Aphro is level 6. Flash Wolves grouped up. Maple chugging a potion to stay alive. And here's the attempt for the Dragon. Karsa has ulti. How will the fight go on this one? MMD charges up, knocks back Graves. That will secure it. Oh, no. Okay, they still got it. It's fine. It reset, but they're fine. Now the root onto Maple. Plenty of damage coming through. Now MMD stuck in the front line. Magical Journey out. Does survive. Then Darshan flashes into the team. Can he get any more in this one? Looking for Maple. He flashes away over the red wall himself. But the party in the Bramble Pit continues. Nope, it's going to end early. Flash Wolves leave. Cops shut it down. CLG running back. Great Dragon pickup by Flash Wolves.
Yeah, so they have 2 Dragons, but CLG have control over the middle lane wave. They see if they can push anything in here. Teams will eventually back away, so great execution there for Flash Wolves. Huhi was a little bit wanted to get a recall and a teleport flank. You could see indecision. Darshan had to run down. In the end, burns his flash as well for naught. So Flash was able to kite back, use that Karma pickup as well as Karsa's Kindred. You saw both of the ultimates layered very nicely there.
Certainly. It is hard to get enough damage on this Flash Wolves line if you think about it. The ulti, the AoE shields from Maple. That you talk about how well they're good at kiting back, but also going in and out composition. The finesse worked out there for Flash Wolves, securing their second Dragon. But now Carson forced to finesse his way out of the blue buff area because that gets stopped up. CLG needs to let that just reset. Smithy, don't attack it. It's not going to help. It's going to go to full health. And they will hand that one over to Huhi. No big problem here for him. Rod of Age is now stacking. Already 3 minutes in on Maples. But Huhi going to grow now as well. Quick, fast wave clear. 143 CS for Maple. Quite high. Really solid clip for him.
Yeah, Maple's proven that as far as laning goes and actually just general all-round mid-lane play, he is.
Darshan trying to fight for the blue buff, but he's not going to get a good chance at it. Nice pickup by Maple. Both blues go to their respective mid laners.
Yeah, so Maple's one of the best in the business in mid laners. I mean, everyone suspects it, but he gets so few opportunities to display it in a world stage. And to see him back-to-back tournaments, I mean, Worlds 2015 was super impressive. And now into MSI coming in with one of the highest KDAs in the tournament. I think he's currently 3rd and right up there with control over that mid lane. The siege of these 2 compositions are both strange because I actually think that even though you look at these and you think short-range AD carries, both mid laners have really cool ways of forcing people off turrets. I mean, silence into Riot Snare just guarantees the death of pretty much anyone on the Flash Wolves lineup, so they have to very much respect that. As well as the fact that Karma is just like the slow into the catch potential out of Karma is also huge, so she's going to force people away. So I think that even though they both look like team fighting compositions, there are options for these teams to run both 1-3-1 and a little bit of siege as this game progresses and like rapid fire cannon starts coming out on the likes of Lucian. Now, Maple's in some trouble, maybe.
Oh, they looked for the tower dive. Not going to find that here as Karsa's there to support Maple. Here comes MMD. Finds Smithy. Graves in a world of trouble. And the Bartledy catches 2. Aphro can't heal Smithy. And he goes down before Wish comes through. What a great play by Sword Art to get 1 kill on the board. 6, they forced to flash away. Beautiful fight by Flash Wolves.
And this is what we expected out of Flash Wolves. No hesitation. On the drop of a dime, they're able to go in. MMD pulls the trigger. Sword Art straight away cuts the other 3 members off that were trying to pinch. And now they're trying to siege down this mid lane turret. Looks like it's going to be unsuccessful.
It is right now, but you can see them try to keep playing the control over the map. CLG already pings, hey, watch out for bot lane, by the way. Flash is running down to that side of the map. You can see they're playing for Dragon control right now.
So let's take another look. A slight hesitation here. I mean, Darshan doesn't go in, and then they absolutely pinch on Smithy, and this ultimate just means that no flank, no support can come out. Stops the wish as well because Afro's caught up in it. Burns it as soon as he gets out, but Red Smite's able to take him down, and it will open up the mid lane.
A little bit of damage done, not enough though, as the turret stays alive as Smithy gets back across the map into his team. And yeah, CLG only have a scattering of defensive wards on this side of the map. Flash was able to get their vision in a little bit. We're only 2 minutes away from Dragon. This would be the third of Flash Wolves, and with how long many of these games have been going, Dragon 5 certainly within the world of possibility here.
And this has to be a little bit frustrating from CLG because you know that you got so far ahead in the early game, but you can't actually take out that mid lane turret. You also haven't found your window around the Dragon objective, so you feel like even though you've done all these proactive things, the game is still ticking away and Flash Wolves are scaling up. Don't get me wrong, CLG go with them in that regard, but they would love to shut this one out early.
Exactly. We've seen so many comebacks. You can never feel safe just having a couple thousand gold lead, especially when Dragons are being stacked, and the gold value of those stats is a couple thousand itself. Like, honestly, after Dragon 3 comes up, I'd say Flash Wolves would be currently leading in terms of stats on the map.
And because of how crit multipliers work and things like that, I mean, NL technically is just as strong, and if he completes that Iceborne Gauntlet, has a heck of a lot more control over these team fights than what Stixie is going to have until he picks up something like an Infinity Edge down the line. So they're in a position right now where their champions are just coming together nicely. And
this ult by NL is really interesting because it's a much longer cooldown now. He won't have it up for a Dragon team fight, and it also won't be up for the wave right before Dragon. So unless... Okay, Flash was using that to recall. So I was wondering if they need to do something off that Ezreal ultimate because it's a major cooldown, and it's to get a safe recall. The rest can run away, but CLG trying to capitalize on that one. Can they get the slows? Magical Journey says no. Flash was able to disengage, but they got a recall out of NL. And the rest of Flash Wolves were trying to back a little bit. But if they don't all get to buy, that's actually kind of relevant.
Yeah, they got the Iceborne Gauntlet on their AD carry, and this is what I was speaking about. You know, 2-item spike for Ezreal, massive. And it's not anything about the damage, it's just because they want to weave in and out of these team fights. It's actually crucial in how they want to play around the Karma cooldowns around Ezreal. So I think that right now, CLG might have to give up another.
CLG actually have about 2,000 to 3,000 unspent gold in the inventories right now. They're actually pretty much equal as far as gold goes in inventory at this time in the game. CLG not as ahead as you might think they are because of items spent here. Right now, just playing the matchups there. Dragon being aggro, but CLG can't really fight for it.
At the same time, huge creep wave in the bottom lane, about to go to waste. Do they send Maple down there? All of a sudden, CLG are making the Flash Wolves respond to the map. So they might have finally bought themselves the reprieve to get that big shop in and then reset up around this big objective.
6-8 just now has the money to upgrade his Zeal into whatever item it's supposed to be, whether it's Rapid Fire Cannon or a Static Shiv. But he can't go for it here, so he's down half an item in this fight. Versus that Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal, trying to rush down the Dragon. It is in vision. The steal not going to happen. Good spike by Smithy, but here's Tempered Fate. It catches 3. The engage is on. Poppy flanking as well. Smithy caught up. Afro dangerously low. Pops the wish. The re-engage on MMD, who is silenced and can't do anything. Forced to flash away. Afro 6-8 dangerously low, and then L! He gets into the backline. He picks up 1. He picks up 2. What a great Lambster's fight by Karsa. There's so many kills now for Flash Wolves. The chase continues, and L finally is lucky. 3-1. What a fight for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, they're able to clean up the back end of that. A great flank came out of MMD. Occupied 3 people, and the chase just keeps on coming. We already spoke about it. Karma, the Ezreal, they just make sure that everyone can get onto that back line. Maple and NL come up huge in that team fight. And CLG, they just shouldn't have been there. I mean, they secure the Dragon, but one more time, we said give the initiation to Sword Art. He's able to nail the important members. He gets all 3. Huge flanking teleport out of a good lane warn for MMD. And Stixie, he's just on the wrong side of the team fight. He wants to be with Afro. And we already mentioned it, 4,000 gold unspent. Huge utility in these team fights and a brute force CLG lineup, and they're just not able to set up the way they would have liked to for that one.
A lot of summoner spells burn as well on the end of that one. So really a great team fight by Flash Wolves. They bring the gold a bit closer. +2 kills for a Dragon. Definitely advantage Flash Wolves, but not as grim as you might expect because that one Dragon does mean some combat stats. CLG resetting on the map still. up about 2,000 gold here. He is now on the split push game, and it is a double teleport game here. 2 TPs to 1. MMDs is down from flanking that last team fight. Maybe there's an advantage that CLG can use, but there's very little to play over as Dragon's off the map, and Baron's probably too hard to kill in a game this close.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, you know, I call it the lone theory. When you are running double teleport, you generally do get the 3 outer turrets. So the only real structure, I would say, is hugely an advantage of CLG right now is a tier 2 top lane, which when Baron becomes an objective is actually quite hard to set up for. So Flash Wolves a little bit more within touching distance than you would have thought because they can collapse into the top side of the map if they want to use double teleport, do some cool things. Both mid lane turrets still up, so there is a little bit more standing gold for the Flash Wolves right now. But, you know, still some good CS advantages out of the AD carry, out of the top lane positioning, giving him that gold buffer.
We'll see if they can keep that buffer in hand. As looks like they're looking for a fight. Darshan caught up in there. He's got to ult himself back in the back line. Still very, very low. Catches him healing, but he will get rooted, and he gets picked off. That is 1 kill already. Well played by Maple & Co. Flash Wolves finding another kill. 5-2 the scoreline. Root on an MMD, slowed down by Afro move, but he's still in danger. Here's the magical journey. Doesn't quite land that slow. More poke coming out of NL. Stixay dived onto the back line. Carson nearly gets executed under the turret, but will stay afloat. Still has Lamb's Respite. And it's a 5v4. There is no Darshan here. Stixay very, very low. Turret goes down. He overextends. Gets caught. Does not quite get rooted, but that was nearly death for him as well. CLG clears the way, but losing health bars constantly. Flash Wolves fighting so well from behind.
Yeah, they force him off the turret. MMD got Stixay in that ultimate. It just meant all the damage was gone, so CLG wisely back away. And Flash Wolves very scrappy. Teleport coming in.
They've got them available. Here comes Huhi in, and here comes Darshan. Karsa is going to get locked up. Lamb's Respite will not let him live in the end of the day. That's a kill picked up. It bought a few seconds, but now it's a 5v4. No struggling for Flash Wolves. Darshan cannot quite land the stun, but he will buy some time. That should mean the outer turret finally going down. That is a trade of turrets and a trade of single kills. Huhi looking for the root. Finds some damage on MMD. A nice slow, but Stixay! Oh, he gets picked off. NL having finally a great game here at MSI, getting another pick.
And Ezreal is one of his signature champions. We've seen a lot of comfort on the likes of Ezreal Lucian, these mid-game AD carries for NL. I mean, he picked up a pentakill to close out the LMS season on the Lucian, and that's greedy from Stixay. I mean, I love his aggressive positioning when he does have these defensive supports. As we take another look at this double TP, this is something that CLG actually utilizes, probably better than any team in the tournament, going to the same ward, and there's nothing that the Flash Wolves can do. And they do the right thing here, right? Darshan forces them off the turret. He's just zoning, actually not going aggressive at all. I mean, he's just pushing them off. Pretty much takes no damage, but from here, you really do have to respect. Afro moves so low, and Stixay just walks up to the front of the fight for no apparent reason. Darshan needs to be ahead of him there.
There's actually something I want to point out here. There's 2 really notable Soraka players in North. Hold on. There's the Tempered Fate. Does not quite get everybody. He has to flash away. MMD is going to teleport. Not get much. Okay, I know Flash is setting up for Baron. And I might have time for this one. So
Adrian and Afro.
Adrian and Afro are the 2 notable Soraka players in North America. Adrian, as of a couple months ago, realized that he's going to run scaling health regeneration seals on Soraka. Keep his health pool up, because obviously healing your teammates constantly drains your health bar really fast. Afro is actually still running armor seals.
Yep.
Because everyone's going Eye of the Watchers, not Eye of the Oasis, you're missing a significant amount of health regen in your Soraka builds, and Afro is constantly incredibly, incredibly low in siege situations.
Yeah, and I think that this is something that, especially in a lane swap meta, if you know you're going to be able to get it, as I hold on to that thought.
Right.
It's quite punishing, because Afro should be afforded the luxury to be able to pick up those scaling HP regen, which aren't necessarily as great in the laning phase, but are much superior as the game goes on and you start picking up effective combat stats.
So yeah, that health bar, like, he has to chug through potions, which is just hundreds and hundreds of gold that he's never going to get back, and he can't advance towards Locket. Honestly, it means a little bit here. Karsa cranking down that bot side Rift Scuttle, and another Dragon on the field now. Flash Wolves looking for the serve, but CLG trying to counterattack by looking to force a Baron. They are on top of the Rift Scuttle. There's the blue trinket used, but even still, they're trying to fan it. They're going for it, but nope, they don't pull the trigger. A safe and secure solo Dragon by Carson. That is the 3rd 5% move speed for Flash Wolves, and they are honestly controlling this game.
Goes for the greedy mark as well. Carson knew there was no hope in them getting that. They controlled the Rift Scuttler. They set up for that beautifully. Made sure that there was pressure on the top side of the map before going bottom, and And Al now looking aggressively. Arcane shifting forward against Ryze is always an interesting decision, I think.
Who he could have R flash W'd probably and caught up to him.
And then Stixxay just turns around and blows him up because he's got another Infinity Edge.
Honestly risky, but NL doesn't get punished for it. He'll get some damage to Stixxay, who's going to recall back and look for his next item.
Once again, like Stixxay's item build this time around, I know I speak a lot about IE third, but if you have a Soraka on your team, you definitely are responsible for putting out majority of the damage. Hex Drinker later is going to be very cost efficient with a Soraka.
Right, and neither of these teams are really great backline access teams. Certainly Sword Art can find that pick and they can all kind of glom onto somebody. But generally speaking, both these teams are going to be playing the DPS check game. And just playing front line. Here comes the top lane attempt. Darshan going to run around. He's still stuck in a 1v3. Here comes his teammate ult back, and he stays alive with the Lamb's Respite. But now who's going to be really the one to get killed off? Karsa cutting back, getting a giant shield thanks to Maple's Karma. But it's Flash Wolves the ones who are retreating, and Afro can heal Darshan right back up once he rejoins the team. Stixxay fighting for a blue buff, gets it. Nicely done there. And CLG turned right away to Baron.
That's a cool interaction where you get down the Kindred ultimate and then all of a sudden the huge AoE shield comes out. A little bit surprising. However, you also saw that Darshan at this stage of the game, if he's not chain CC'd,
good damage from Hui walking forward into MMD, and he's going to find a fair bit of damage rooted up near the wall. But here comes Stixxay forcing back the backline. Hui taking a punch of damage, but Flash Wolves are here first. They get the kill on the Karsa. Hui flashes out. Wish helps, and now, Sword Art burns to death. Stixxay gets one. Darshan diving heavily into 3 people, sets up the shield. Does get away from the root, takes a lot of damage from Maple though, but now it's a 3 versus 5. No jungler for Flash Wolves. CLG turn to Baron.
And they still have the Soraka available as well as their tank, so Afro can just top up Darshan. Looks like they do want to start it off, not just a bait.
Okay, could be a bit of a risk as Flash Wolves are coming. They do have some level of vision coming in from the river. Baron at 5,000 health. Afro dangerously low on HP. MMD looks for the ulti. He got 2. Stixxay still there, and they get that one picked up. Afro still dies. Hui coming back down the side. It's a 4 versus 3 right now. NL jumping away. Maple running out as well. Flash Wolves respawning. Afro for Baron, still good for CLG.
And before that, they picked up 2 kills. So it's 1 for 2 and Baron. Fantastic for CLG. And showing their patience, showing their discipline one more time. I mean, that should have been an advantageous trade. Baron hitting 3 members in 3v3, but they're just able to collapse very, very quickly. And you know, they recall, they do the safe thing. Don't look for any cleanup kills afterwards. Get the big shop in. And this was fantastic out of Hui. I mean, he chain CCs him up and then moves back into range afterwards to get his second rotation of spells off against MMD. It's the little things that really do count. And Xmithy has just been stepping up time and time again. Blows up Karsa. Stixxay is able to get the 1v1 on the right side of the fight. But that's just a fight that Flash Wolves looked like they were opting into for no apparent reason. There was nothing really left to fight over in that side of the jungle. Blue buff already gone. You've shoved out the wave. You're unsuccessful in the gank on Darshan. Just reset the map and try and look for your control one more time. Don't brute force fight a Ryze as well as a Lucian with 3 items.
Absolutely the case. Yeah, and you saw poor Sword Art just tied to a red buff, even though he had landed the Tempered Fate into Stixxay. So moments of brilliance here from CLG. Still down in kills, but a 5,000 gold lead by playing the macro game. They're up 2 turrets, and they're up that Baron buff. Looking to play the Siege game now. Mid and bot lane have tier 2 turrets still available. And despite losing Aframu, still have a positive Baron power play.
And once again, because of the medium to low range of a lot of the champions in this game, especially with wave clear, there is always a potential that, wow.
Good stun up. Afro's going to get Tempered Fate, but it also hits Hui. So now the knockback way too early. Inexperienced playing alongside the Bard. And here comes the engage. Hui rooted up again, but a big shield to him keeps him alive. The team is still grouped up. Smithy gets the ult across. Darshan does not quite find a backline to access. CLG low on health. Afro dangerously low himself. Darshan will recall. He can rejoin the team. But now, they've got to be careful. MD wants back in, and Darshan is back in as well, though. Darshan in the front side, Stixxay low, gets the wish, but there's the kill of the Soraka. A great dive by Karsa. Now a bit of low. Stixxay goes back and lands with Mike. James goes back. It's a 2 for 1. Advantage of CLG. Maple's next up. This is a huge battle for Counter Logic Gaming. Flash Wolves fighting inside the jungle and getting slaughtered.
Yeah, and that's inexperience, as Darshan. You mentioned. Ooh, NL does get out. They didn't account for all of the healing that was going to come out of Soraka. I mean, teams just don't see it in their regions apart from North America. Darshan ulting back. They thought that they had a 4v5, but because of the immediacy of that Baron recall.
Here comes Hui at the speed of light and blitzes down MMD. That could be a whole lot more. There's still 20-second respawn timers on 3.
CLG are looking to push into this base. I mean, sure, Smithy's down, but it's still only 2 members, and neither have wave clear.
Flash root onto NL, and it's practically this solo kill. Darshan comes in at the last second, but that was all who he's doing, finding some good plays to be made. Now onto the Nexus turrets. The respawns are coming. Karsa's up, and Maple's in 5, so CLG will have to run away. Baron buff is gone. It means slow recalls. Dragon's up in 20. This will be a reset.
It certainly will, but it'll be a 10,000 gold advantage nearly for CLG, and they blow this map wide open. That's what I'm talking about. Huhi just willing to pull the trigger, you know, as soon as they're trying to hold the minion wave off turret, just get in there, flash on the rise, blow up the AD carry. They've honestly played this mid-game beautifully and utilized all of that gold early to just brute force.
Okay, steal's not going to happen. Karsa a little bit too afraid to jump over the wall.
Still looking for a flank.
Yeah, be careful because Smithy isn't here, but neither is Karsa, and NL's already dead. So smart for MMD to not go for the fight. Honestly, probably shouldn't have teleported. That was a guaranteed 3v4.
Yeah, it certainly was, and all of a sudden, you know, with bottom lane in here, respawn, Maple and MMD both not having teleport available, it's going to hurt them. But let's take another look, because they see Darshan recall here, and they're like, we want to go in. They do get Afro. Actually, they get Stixay, sorry. But they're not able to blow him up because of Afro, and then Karsa has to pop his ultimate and jumps out of it while Stixay jumps in and doesn't get the shield out of the Karma that would have probably saved his life. So once again, crisp execution out of the CLG lineup, and just mistake after mistake for Flash Wolves in that team fight.
Definitely agree. A bit of sloppy team fighting, but good coordination by CounterLogic Gaming. You can see a pretty big team effort there. They're all in the 2000s there from CLG, and Maple on the utility mage. Not able to get enough out. Do you want to give props to NL? I think he's actually been having a pretty good game for himself, for a player that's honestly received a lot of flack, somewhat throughout the tournament, throughout the season in the LMS, but also at this tournament. Has got some good damage out, but it's just not been enough.
And once again, just credit to Afromu's champion pool. I mean, he played a Lulu game, I think, in the split of North American LCS. He plays Soraka that no one else really plays. His Morgana is still fantastic. The Janna that we saw fell out because of, I guess, the lane swap meta. He plays everything and to a terrific level. And he also has the melee supports to go with it, so it's not like he's only a ranged support player.
Absolutely. He's still a great Alistar and Braum player himself, but Smithy chunked down to 2/3 HP. There's the ulti on the Huhi. Will they stun? No, they won't. Actually turns right back onto Karsa. Has guarded Angel, stays alive. Good shield coming out of Aframu, shielding him up. Darshan on the front lines as well, gets poked out by NL though. Plenty of damage coming out of this Ezreal. And not finding any further poke.
But creeps are streaming into the base. There's only one Nexus turret up, remember, so Karsa has to go back, try and deal with them, and meanwhile CLG can just continue this siege.
They're going to go for it right now. Huhi walking the front line. Darshan zoning out with parallel convergence. Puts in the Time Winder, forced to run away. Maple will not land the root. Healed back up by Afro, who is now out of HP right now, but still holds on to Wish. Smithy found out by MMD. Ma is popped. And Afro is a true shot barrage away from death. Flashes, then ults, does stay alive. Darshan now caught up by MMD, and it's a Flash Wolves re-engaged, looking to get back into this game. Stixay, though, wearing a red buff and a red elixir. MMD rooted up. Look at the damage output they have on that Poppy.
And Huhi is just massive at the moment. Level 17 has well and truly arrived on this rise. He has a GA as well, so he doesn't even really fear for his life. And once again, another team fight where Flash Wolves are like, they're chunked, we can go, and not accounting for all of the additional sustain that Soraka puts into the kit. And overreaching, burning crucial summoner spells. The flash on MMD means that it's not going to be time with his teleport. You can no longer look for the teleport. Flash wallbang onto Afro, try and delete that Soraka out of the game. The window is slowly closing where they can get back into this. Bottom inhib down, Baron now available. CLG are just going to look to pull this Flash Wolf squad apart.
It's time for the next point of tension, though. CounterLogic Gaming up 9,000 gold. They've already got to go back to... They've got to go back and buy Quicksilver Sash and Stixay as well. And looking now at their second Baron of the game. Flash Wolves are coming. The Maple has teleport, and this is on top of a ward. Here comes the play. Rise in as well, though. What's the fight going to be? No stun for Darshan. Huhi is behind the team. Looks for Sword Art. Does get the damage. And it sounds for Afro buys some time. Huhi's still afloat. Afro getting so many heals across. There's the Lamb's Respite. Darshan is holding the front line. Not a care in the world. Ults back for the heal. Finds the stun as well. Look at the damage output. Huge parallel convergence. Sticks it at the back line. MMD's going to go down. That's 3 kills already for CLG, and that could mean the base.
Yeah, it certainly will. They're just going to look to close out because there's already creeps on the Nexus turret. That's going to fall.
Beautiful stuff. The minions, just like in the North American playoffs, helping CLG win the game here.
And him.
And, well, middle and him coming back eventually. Yeah, Huhi diving heavily into the back lines. On top of the fact, they do have to turn back to the inhibitor. They will pick that one up, but this should still mean the game-winning play. CLG will be 2-0 against Flash Wolves, and they are almost secured the second seed in the playoff.
And one more time, a comprehensive victory, this time shoring up the early game that we've seen maybe falter for CLG, a different style of team composition. As I said, this to me was just a brute force comp, but they played it with the early game finesse to get their carries into the mid-game stage. Flash Wolves, credit to them, tried some different things, but just weren't able to execute as the game got a lot more scrappy.
There's two major things here that I want to talk about. One is playoff standings for CLG. The only way they don't finish in second is if Flash Wolves win their next one and SKT win their next two and CLG loses three-way tie for second. That would be the only way CLG are not second place, since they own the head-to-head to Flash Wolves, requires three-way tie. Flash Wolves, you mentioned, things that were new for them, right? First ever professional game for Sword Art on Bard. And maybe they've played it in scrims and whatnot, but they looked really unpracticed on Bard. I think Sword Art missed every single Tempered Fate into Q-Stun. I didn't see a single one land. Poppy also missed her ult chaining off of Tempered Fate. Really bad misplays.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not only the Bard missing afterwards, it's the rest of the team not being used to play with it, because when we watch CLG run these compositions, when we watch RNG, they're very practiced at layering their CC afterwards, and it is such a small window to chain someone like a Rise, someone like an Echo, who blows you up or just sustains so much if you don't get them off the rift at the start of the team fight. And, you know, credit to Flash Wolves, they tried something new, but now going down 2-0 against CLG, most likely what our semi-finals matches will be, that hurts.
It does, and the question is then, what Flash Wolves will eventually show up then? They still have a game to play. It will be, I believe, against Supermassive, but then it's on the playoffs for them. Of course, they're already secured in the top four. NL finally had a great game. 4-1-2, honestly a good scoreline for him. He did plenty of damage on the Ezreal, and considering they're playing a supportive mid, that was required of him. And I think NL showed up pretty well, very few mistakes, and actually some great backline penetration. He single-handedly won them some team fights, picking off the entire dual lane of CLG in a couple of those. That was big, but the rest of those players have to actually do well. Sword Art's Bard, I don't like it. Maple's Karma wasn't that great either.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Karma in the laning phase, I was like, wow, he's very practiced with this. He was shoving out waves. He was disappearing to Fog of War. But the team fight coordination just wasn't there. And that's a whole team issue, right? That's not something that Maple can go away and be like, I'm going to fix this individually. That's something that, as a team, you have to put hours into practicing. The layering of the shields with the Kindred ultimate, with